Tonight, global attention once again turns toward the Middle East. A powerful warning from Washington: Iran must make a choice. That message comes as U.S. President Donald Trump says he is considering possible limited military strikes if negotiations over Iran's nuclear program fail. At the same time, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee has delivered a clear message. Tehran must decide whether it wants diplomacy or consequences. So what exactly is happening? Is the United States moving toward military action, or is this strategic pressure aimed at securing a deal? In today's in-depth report, we break down the background of U.S.-Iran tensions, what Trump actually said, Huckabee's warning explained Iran's official response, the military buildup in the region, possible global consequences, and what experts believe could happen next. Let's begin. Background of the conflict: tensions between the United States and Iran go back decades. The modern nuclear dispute intensified in the early 2000s when concerns emerged over Iran's uranium enrichment activities. In 2015, a major agreement known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, was signed between Iran and world powers, including the United States. Under that deal, Iran agreed to limit nuclear enrichment. International inspectors gained access. In return, economic sanctions were lifted. However, in 2018, President Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the agreement, arguing it was insufficient and did not address Iran's missile program or regional influence. Since then, sanctions were reimposed. Iran gradually increased enrichment levels. Diplomatic trust weakened. Now, negotiations appear to be back, but under intense pressure. What Trump said recently: President Donald Trump stated that Iran has a limited window, reportedly 10 to 15 days, to reach an agreement. He warned that if no deal is reached, bad things could follow. Importantly, he mentioned the possibility of limited strikes. Officials emphasized this would not necessarily mean full-scale war, but targeted military action. Trump's approach appears to follow a strategy often described as maximum pressure, using sanctions, military positioning, and deadlines to push for stronger negotiation terms. At the same time, the White House says diplomacy remains open. This dual message, pressure plus negotiation, is central to the current strategy. Huckabee's warning: U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee reinforced this stance by saying Iran must make a choice. His message was clear: either agree to meaningful terms or face consequences. Huckabee stated that at some point, negotiations cannot continue indefinitely without results. However, he also emphasized that a peaceful resolution would be preferable. His comments reflect a broader sentiment among some U.S. officials who believe stronger leverage is necessary to secure compliance. Iran's response: Iranian officials have rejected threats of military action. They argue their nuclear program is for civilian energy purposes. Pressure tactics undermine trust. Military buildup increases regional instability. Tehran says it is preparing a counterproposal. Iran maintains it is willing to negotiate, but only if sanctions relief and sovereignty concerns are addressed. Iran has also criticized the growing U.S. military presence in the region. Military buildup reports indicate that the U.S. has increased its military presence in the Middle East. This includes naval deployments, Air Force positioning, defensive systems in allied countries. Defense analysts say this buildup may serve two purposes: deterrence, discouraging Iran from escalating; leverage, strengthening America's negotiating position. However, military positioning always increases risks of miscalculation. Even limited strikes could trigger retaliation. Global implications: if tensions escalate, the consequences could extend far beyond the region. Possible impacts include oil price volatility, disruptions in shipping routes, regional proxy conflicts, diplomatic strain between global powers. Countries like Israel, Gulf nations, Russia, and European allies are closely watching. Markets also react quickly to any signs of instability. On the other hand, a successful agreement could reduce sanctions pressure, stabilize energy markets, lower military tensions. The stakes are extremely high. What happens next? Experts say the next few days are critical. There are three main possibilities: a diplomatic breakthrough, continued negotiations with rising tension, limited military action followed by renewed talks. Most analysts believe both sides understand the risks of full-scale war, but public rhetoric has intensified. The key question now is whether diplomacy can move faster than escalation. Conclusion: Right now, both Washington and Tehran are sending strong signals. The United States says Iran must make a choice. Iran says it wants respect and fairness in negotiations. The world watches carefully. Will this end in diplomacy, or will tensions rise further? We'll continue to monitor developments. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay balanced,